But I genuinely, much like a lot of my cast on Schitt's Creek, we did not intend to be famous. We followed a path that brought us excitement and joy and exhilaration. I love performing. I love performing for an audience. I've loved that since I was a kid. I wrote and produced and starred in all my school plays at North Toronto, and when I was a teenager, I have loved the idea of bringing an idea to life and giving it to people. Fame is a completely different conversation. I accept it because I have to, because it's a part of the job. I'm not going to be one of those people that kind of wants to excuse myself from it. I understand that it comes with the territory, but it is not something I sought out. And when you don't seek out fame, it has to be about the work. And that's all we have. So for me, it's not about sustaining a career. It's about preserving the integrity of the ideas and the work that I do. And if those hit, great. And if they don't, great. I just hope that I continue to get those opportunities to continue to tell stories. That is my next thing. If that's sustainability, then sure. But my hope is that if the specificity of what I'm doing works, then I will get another opportunity to make something else. But it's not this overarching thing about like, I need to, I remember when Schitt's Creek ended, I was hearing like momentum.
Yeah. I mean, it was
what?
all the news.
What are we talking about?
What's he going to do next? Oh, I hear he signed this big deal. What's he going to do? Oh, wow. What's he going to do next?
I know.
Yeah.
And I think Schitt's Creek taught us all that you should be questing after projects that make you feel good, that make you feel like showing up to work is exciting. And if you're lucky that the work that you do means something to someone else. And I will always try to make things that mean something, because if they mean something to me, I have to hope that they mean something to someone else. Regardless of whether it's a comedy or a drama, a movie or a TV show, you gotta kind of run with your passions and hope that it amounts to something.
But Dan, they meant and they mean so much to so many people. I mean, to point in case, in July, you and your dad are appointed to the Order of Canada for co-creating Schitt's Creek. And I'll read the quote here, trailblazing advocacy of 2S LGBTQI plus communities. What went through your mind when you heard that?
I still don't believe it's real. I don't think you can. I mean, again, it's like the more you think about something, the more you believe that some kind of accolade, that you are in a place to earn it. There's so many people, I think, in this country that deserve it.
Yeah.
I just happen to be in the right place at the right time to get it. And so I don't know. I think in the same way with the Emmys, it's like, yes, they're on a shelf, and sometimes I will stop and think, wow, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of the team, and I'm so proud of my family, and I'm so proud of Catherine and Annie and our crew. Like, that is the greatest. Annie Murphy winning her Emmy meant more to me than all of my Emmys combined, to be honest. Finding someone who was an actor who showed so much promise in an audition room, and then 7.5 years later, watching that person win the highest award you can possibly receive on American television, that is what we're here for. So I deeply appreciate the Order of Canada, but for me, you can't hang your hat on something like that. You could take it, accept it, love it, and then you got to move on, because you can't. Your ego will just lose its mind.
That being said, the fact that it was foretelling LGBTQ plus stories was meaningful to me. In particular, I don't know what kind of conversations you're having, but I feel like in the past year I've had more creators come in from that community. I mean, I should point out that you're Canadian, you're living in the U.S. right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never had more creators from LGBTQ plus communities tell me that in some cases. I don't know if this is something you're seeing in the States, it's getting harder to tell some of these stories than it was before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways it's easier, and I think in some ways it's stayed the same. I don't know if it's harder. I just think it was impossible before.
Yeah.
So we've made some progress for sure. I think what I've tried to do, with the success that I've had in America is to use that success to take friends of mine who have really strong voices and want to tell stories and say, okay, hello, executive, now look at this person. I believe in this person, so you should believe in this person. That's what this, I think that, and maybe it's the Canadian in me, but I just don't feel comfortable accepting success without using it to lift up other people, because that's what happened to me. And you can't just sit there and say, okay, me, what's next? You have to say, what makes success fulfilling is the ability to use it to help other people, to use it to open doors for other people, to use it, I don't want the responsibility of being one of the few people to tell stories about gay people, about queer people. It's important for me to take friends of mine, queer friends of mine, and say, they're really funny. They have a great stand-up set. They have a great idea for a pilot. Hello, buy into them. They're worth it. Because I truly believe that great parts, for the most part, are written by people who have experienced them. I'm not getting a lot of really nuanced gay auditions. You know what I mean? I kind of have to write them for myself. And all the really great parts that I have read have come from writers who have that experience themselves. So it's about providing opportunity for communities of people to get to tell their stories so that the actors have more to work with, ultimately. If any of that makes sense.
Oh my God, it all makes a perfect sense. The idea, my favorite thing you said was that I want to lift up people because that's what people did to me.
Yeah, of course. I am absolutely aware of the opportunity that was provided for me. I know exactly what that conversation is. I'm confronted by it all the time. But what I won't, the idea of nepotism.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that. I was just talking about people looking out for people. I was just talking.
Oh, no. And I agree. But I think from an outside perspective, it's all you hear sometimes.
Oh.
Is this opportunity was given because of. We're talking about, opportunities that are provided. I think from an outsider's perspective, a lot of that would be perceived as a nepotism conversation. And at the end of the day, and I know that there was this big conversation about that a little while back.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, in some magazine, right? It was a New York magazine,
something like that. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I understand why people believe in it, and I understand that there are probably moments where it's true. But the industry has too much money on the line for people's kids to just be handed jobs. It's frankly it doesn't work like that. And if you happen to kind of wander into your parents' profession, it's because it's in the home. And I think for me, I got to witness the funniest people in the world, coming and going from my house. Why would you not want to be a part of that? But at the same time, I feel like what my dad and I did together was equal parts, was a contribution from equal sides. And I know in my heart that I did what I could, and I held up my end of the bargain. And so for me, it was, it's about using that to continue to help other people.
Well, that's what I was getting to. The idea that we listen. People have helped me every step of the way in this thing.
Of course, it's how we go through life.
And I do see it as my responsibility when someone comes in on this show, or I meet someone else at the CBC, either to warn them and get them out of here, or to say, think about doing something else, or to go, or in all seriousness, to try and do what about 1,000 people did for me, and tried to do it for other folks.
It's peace of mind at the end of the day. It's knowing that you did the right thing.
Also, at the end of the day, watching this film reminded me that you are above. A great thinker about the industry and a great actor, but what a writer! What a gifted writer you are, and you do really see that in this film. And I read you say this thing. And it caught me off guard, and I didn't really know what you meant by it, so I wanted to ask you about it.
Okay.
I read you say that writing is one of the most meaningful outlets for questioning my feelings.
Okay, let me break it down.
Okay, I'm ready.
I can understand how that could be confusing.
I liked it. Don't get me wrong, I liked it.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just say things that ultimately mean nothing.
No, I didn't think that.
Sometimes, sometimes things just come out of your mouth and they don't make any sense.
This is not one of those times, Dan. I got a feeling.
I feel like I often find myself questioning myself. I find myself questioning life. I find myself debating a lot in my head. And writing is one of the rare ways where I can find clarity in the confusion. Am I still speaking in kind of circles?
You got me. No, I'm
sparkles?
with you.
And so with this movie, again, I was confused by the idea of grief. I was confused by my relationship to it. I was confused about whether I was doing it properly. And so in the process of writing this script, I was able to answer some of those questions, and I was able to kind of focus my feelings, even though what I was writing wasn't directly related to my own grief. It was related to the bigger questions that I was grappling with. And I was able to kind of detangle and focus my thoughts so that by the time that I finished the movie, and there's a line that Celia Imrie says at the very end of the movie, where we have kind of gotten through the storm, and she says, to avoid sadness is to also avoid love. That was the answer to my question. That was the revelation that came somehow through my brain onto the page, onto the laptop, into an actor's gorgeous performance, and out into the world. So I didn't, it's a sentiment that I didn't pre-plan. I didn't have that line written down thinking like, oh, this is a good one.
It wasn't in the note.
It wasn't in the note. It wasn't in the snowfall. It was something that happened because at that point in the storytelling, something unlocked and a clarity about how I was feeling came to me, and I wrote it down.
Beautiful.
And so it is this wonderful, it's a torturous, wonderful, exhilarating experience of telling stories, but in the process, trying to understand my own feelings. And it gets spread out amongst all these different characters. It gets spread out in little pieces and conversations and questions that are asked by different characters throughout the movie. And by the end of it, it worked, So it brought me a tremendous amount of closure and peace in understanding what this was all for.
Through the work itself. Dan, I loved the film. I loved getting the chance to talk to you today. Next time, third time's a charm for having you in the studio, I think.
I'm telling you, the next time I'm in Toronto, I'm coming by whether you want me or not.
Yeah, you're gonna bust in on an interview with Cardinal Official. You're just gonna bust in and hey, I got this stuff.
Just bust in. You're gonna hear like a very soft knock and then me saying like, are you sure? Is this okay?